The other guy that you love that we haven't talked about yet, we're going to move away from defense now, is Dalton Knecht. And Dalton Knecht this year has been I'm pulling up the numbers now. Averaging 17.5 points, 4.7 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 45% from the field, 38% from three, 82% from the line at Tennessee. Tennessee, it's very clear, like, is building their offense around him and his ability to knock down shots off of movement, his ability to occasionally run some ball screens. They're using him, out of the post occasionally. Mm-hmm. It's like they're very clearly making him the guy. And he's also averaging, they've played 4 games against high majors so far, 3 of whom against high majors that I think are really good in Wisconsin, Purdue, and Kansas. He's averaging 17.5 in those games so far too. So I've been really, really impressed with Dalton Knecht's offense. I think that it's a very translatable skill set. We'll see what it looks like defensively, I think. I thought he did well in the Wisconsin game. They had him guarding AJ Storr, who's like this big physical dude. And then I thought, like, in Maui, I thought it was rough. We'll just leave it at that. But what did you think?
I think there's definitely progress to be made there, but that's why he's at Tennessee. Like, I'm also working on a story on him. Like, that's why he chose Tennessee to like go learn how to guard, basically. There's moments where you can see it, and he's athletic enough that I think eventually he'll figure it out. I think he's almost like a freshman, and this is his first introduction to really high level basketball. And so there are going to be kind of some growing pains there. I thought, like, I honestly, offensively, I think the NBA spacing will be good for his game, because he's one of those rare guys who is a like legit 3-level scorer. Like, he's done really well from the mid range so far. He's finishing. I don't have his finishing numbers in front of me, but I think he made his first 11 shots at the rim all season. He's a really, really good finisher, and like athletic finishes with both hands. Like, he had a play in one of the first few games, it might have been the Wisconsin game, where he's like basically takes off from the free throw line and like floats in and makes a lefty scoop in transition.
Yeah.
And, he can score over length. The jump shot release is really high. He's a little flat-footed on it, but it's really high. I'd like to see maybe a little more arc on his shot. And like, sometimes I worry about guys with kind of flatter shots when they go back further to that NBA line. But I've watched him shoot in practice, and then now, like, he was shooting the heck out of it in their practices in Honolulu. And his 3-point numbers have been, what's he at so far? 37.9. Like, I honestly think he's probably he's probably a 40% shooter this year from 3. Like, I think he's a legit good shooter, and he's shooting a lot of them. So I like him. And the spacing point I was going to make, like the Purdue game, I thought they kind of shrunk the floor on him, and Braden Smith is like really, really good at basically closing a driving lane really quickly. That bothered him somewhat, but he still got 16 in that game. And he can really score, like, skill wise, and just like he'll look great in a combine type setting. Like, in workouts, he's going to look awesome. It's just kind of getting used to high level basketball, the reads and that kind of stuff that I think is going to be a work in progress, also mostly on the defensive end this year. But from talking to people about him, like, I think he's a worker, and I think it's sometimes good when a guy comes from like nothing. Guy played JuCo ball, played 2 years at Northern Colorado, to be able to like have an experienced, like, people not telling you you're awesome for all your life. Sometimes those late bloomers are, end up being pretty good workers and pretty good players. And but just from a skill, tools, and the tools and the like actually having the body and the profile there is pretty high.
Well, he's a real athlete too. Like, he can really jump. Like, he has movement skills. His hips aren't like phenomenal, I don't think, but he very clearly can adjust in midair on some things as well. Can rebalance himself. It feels like he's an impressive dude offensively. Where the defense settles this year is gonna, I think, hold a lot of where his draft stock ends up, and B, kind of where Tennessee ends up, because they're going to need him to be able to defend as well. Tennessee is a program built around defense. It's why you and I were quite high on them coming into the year, and I'm still very, very high on them. based off of what we've seen. They're going to be really good with Knecht, and Jordan Gainey has been pretty good as a shooter so far. Vescovy hasn't even made shots yet, and I think that he's been pretty good. Then you look at like the defense guys with Jonas Adu, Jemai Mashak, like they have some dudes that can really, really play. Josiah Jordan-James is like a good two-way player who's got to be 23 years old at this point. And this is without them having gotten anything yet from Freddie DeLeon. And then if they can get something from Cam Carr as well offensively, they're going to be really good.
That's like the next one. That's the one to watch. Like, I don't know that he does anything this year, but they think like he's the next one that could. And watching him, he shoots it really, really well. His shot's nice, and he's tall. He's just skinny.
It's just going to take him a minute in college.
Yeah, it's like Johnny Furphy at Kansas. He's a year away from being probably anything. But the one guy you mentioned too is Zakai Ziegler. Like, I don't think he's right yet. If he is healthy down the road, like they'll be a pretty good team. Their center spot concerns me offensively. And you're a show that talks about draft prospects, so you probably don't care about. But I am still high on them. But yeah, I think he's going to get better as the season goes along defensively. Like, some guys are thinking so much offensively now, like freshmen. Like, he's a freshman in a way. And a lot of times the guys are thinking too much on offense and it's slowing them down. I think he's thinking too much on defense and it's slowing them down a little bit. And so I do think he'll get there eventually, because the athletic component is there, and the want to. Like, he's got a desire to guard. He's not one of those scorers that's just like, I'm gonna get my buckets and then I'll take care of that down on that end. Like, he wants to guard. He has that desire.